are getting close.
Are you holding my camera properly? Swerve, girl.
Stop, both of you!
Yours will surely come.
Hi, Mom. My parents asked if their grandchildren could visit them for a week. Here we are.
This is where our mom grew up. I've wanted to spend time with you for so long.
Miss you guys.
Mom, we're having a great time.
I have not seen your Nana this happy in years. Bedtime here is 9:30. It's probably best you two shouldn't come out of your room after that. See you in the morning.
9:30?
9:30.
What is that? It's 10:47.
We think there's someone outside the door. What the hell was that? I think Nana's not feeling well.
Grandmother is fine. It's like somebody talking in their sleep.
What's he doing? They're weird during the day.
I was just cleaning it.
And even weirder at night?
Mom, there's something wrong with Nana and Papa.
They're just old. Bear with it for a couple of days.
Nana, are you okay? They're hiding something.
It's just the end of your trip.
I'm sad it's all over. I'm gonna get you.
Papa!
Let's make it a perfect night.
What is that? Mom, you need to come right now.
Would you mind getting inside the oven to clean it?
Stop! Nana, stop!
I think we all need a hug after that trailer. We all need a little bit of coziness. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Congratulations on the film. I want to get into the nitty-gritty of the story and everything, but in doing research for this, now you funded this movie on your own, right? You were like, I'm just going to go make a movie.
Yeah. It was, I had this idea for this small, weird, twisted movie, and I just, wanted to just go make it. And I don't know, it was one of those kind of confidence in the story kind of things, but also, trusting in that if you just concentrate on characters, story, and good partners, that everything's going to work out. And so we just kind of went away and shot it. I had no idea we would ever get here where the world would be seeing it, and it was just, you just go make a story you believe in.
Is that a thrill to be doing that? Is it more nerve-wracking than before? I mean, what's more nerve-wracking, having someone having the faith of $200 million in you, or the faith of this is me, this is mine, and this is my family's money and my money?
Yeah, well, you act a little differently when it's your money. I'll just tell you that right now. You work just a tiny bit harder, just a tiny bit. You think about everything just a little bit more. It just means just a little bit more.
We got to beat that light. We got to beat that light, guys.
But what it does is makes you very primal as a storyteller. Kind of, you're holding to something that's important to you, and it does allow you, when you're making a movie at a lower budget, at least in my mind as an artist, to do quirkier, odd things with the movie, and you don't have to be as safe with what you're doing. And in fact, when you guys see it, there's a couple scenes in there, a couple in particular that just would never have been made in the studio. So it's just, that would have been the first note. You cannot do that.
Really?
Yeah, you cannot do what you just did.
Right, explain this more or don't do it.
It's too outrageous. You can't do this to audiences. And of course, that's like the best thing in the movie now. Everybody goes insane when that moment happens, and I'm talking around it, I'm sorry.
Well, I think, we don't want to give anything away, of course, but I think one of the great things about this movie is that it's not just scary. We get a lot of the scares in the trailer, but it's really funny. It's a fun, scary horror movie, right? Did you guys have a lot of fun while you were making it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, working with everyone was just the best of fun. But I mean, I guess
that sort of mix of genres and the sort of like authenticity of the film and like how it's written is definitely what makes it so special. I mean, you know, it's so great to have, you know, everyone around the world just loving it, and yeah, we're really, really excited.
And now this is a sort of found footage type of horror film, right? But it's from the eyes of a young filmmaker played by you. You've said that this is kind of a rebirth for you, this movie, and you look at this character as maybe a version of you. Did you feel like you were playing a version of Knight? Is that a lot of pressure?
Well, I mean, we worked really closely.
I was a teenage girl when I was younger.
Yeah, he was. No, but we worked, I mean, we had a lot of rehearsal time, so we worked really closely sort of to develop that sort of persona and that sort of like film knowledge, I guess, that Becca had, which was a reflection of Knight. And yeah, I mean, it really helped, if anything, to have him there with me and telling me really how to act well.
Yeah, she basically, her character is kind of an aspiring filmmaker, and I make a distinction between documentary and found footage, because documentary can have beauty in it, it can have cinema in it, and hopefully our film is beautiful and has, you know, aesthetics in it. But I guess when I was a teenager, I was both these kids. I was the kind of super pretentious, no offense, super pretentious artist. I'm gonna make great art, and everybody around me would just, you know, would be like, hated me because I was like, oh, this is what this means in French cinema and all this stuff. And you know, I was 15 years old, and they just.
I was like that.
Yeah, you were like that.
Really annoying for other people. I don't know that until now. I look back and I'm like, God, they must have wanted to kill me all the time.
Yeah. And then I have this side of me, which is kind of the entertainer. Ed plays her little brother, who just wants everybody to enjoy themselves, and very mischievous.
And Catherine, you play the mother?
Yes. Yes,
And
I do.
You do, a lot of your scenes are via Skype, right?
Yeah, right, exactly, which was like, it posed kind of an amazing challenge for us, because we would shoot it with so we were able to be listening to each other, but then we kind of had to nail it. And then when I was on location, I kind of had to match where the mom came in to like basically like the coverage that we already had. It was a beautiful challenge to try to find that like music.
Are you sort of, do you have like an earpiece of their scene before, and you're hitting your moments in between?
Yes. I always wear an
that's gotta
earwig,
be
though.
so-
Someone is always feeding me lines. Just even right now. Okay, gotta laugh. Good.
If you look really hard, I'm standing behind her most of the movie, just crouches, Indian
He's
guy
in
hiding
there.
behind her.
I don't have a mic pack. I just have a night pack. Yeah.
Ed, did you have a lot of fun playing the entertainer in this? We talked about it in the green room very briefly, but you actually rap in the film, right?
I do. My character, Tyler, he has a kind of a stage name. He's stage nom de plume, which is one of the kind of terms that I don't even know what it is. But and he has a stage name which is T Diamond Stylist, which is a big alter ego kind of rapper persona, which he so isn't. It's the opposite of him. Yeah.
He's the opposite?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because really in real life he's kind of a sensitive little boy, but he pretends to be this big kind of, I don't know, rapper.
Now, there's a trend in horror movies for, I think, a few years where children were the creepy, scary ones, and in this we kind of get the opposite, where the elderly are the creepy, scary ones. Was that in any way a response to a sort of current trend in horror movies?
No, I actually don't think of my movies as horror movies. This is definitely scary, guys, so I'm giving you that. But it's, for me, they're dramas. And if they're any genre, they're psychological thrillers. All my, what's the connection between Unbreakable and Sixth Sense or The Village and Signs and The Visit? It's all that they're psychological thrillers with the scary element. You tend to get thrown in the bucket of horror if you have enough scares. This is the scariest of my movies, for sure. But it's deeply a psychological thriller. And you referenced kind of the humor balance, which was super, super tricky. It took me a huge amount of time in post-production as we were editing to get the balance of the fun right, because you don't really see that in movies. I was trying to think of an equivalent movie. It was like you have to Scream maybe from like '96. Like you have to go back a long ways to find that balance where it has that balance of humor and pathos in it. And actually, just a compliment, a random compliment to Catherine. When she here it comes.
I'm listening.
She did have to be fed all her lines, but no, she didn't. She's amazing. She's amazing. No,
is that the compliment?
No, that's a compliment.
You didn't have to be
She
fed
really
your lines.
listened when I fed her
like
the lines. No, Catherine is, as you know, is super funny, but she's also an incredible dramatic actress. And that was actually what drew me to you. That your baggage of humor, I think, was a nice patina to tell the audience you're going to be able to laugh at this movie. But she really didn't do humor in the movie. She played it straight and is a very emotional actor. And all of them had to do all of these things. Especially these three had to do the range of humor. And obviously frightening things that would chill you as they genuinely reacted. But most of all, for me, they had to be in a drama, the three of them. If you took away all the comedy, all of the horror out of the movie, what was left would be a beautiful movie that these three played about their family. And that was really important that they have those different muscles.
Well, Catherine, talk about your character. Talk about the dramatic arc of your character.
I mean, I to go back a little bit as a tangent, like we were talking back there about, and I have thought about it so often, like the rehearsal process for this was one of my...
I've been drinking her water, I just realized.
Well, that's disgusting.
I know. And you just coughed a little bit, and I was, sorry. I tried to do that unnoticed. It didn't work.
No, I'm looking at you. The rehearsal process for this was so blessed. Like we were in freezing, snowy, white, like isolated, gorgeous, outside of Philadelphia, like the most beautiful. And then we would just go to the production offices, and we'd order like takein, lunch, and we would just talk and find this family together, this like triangle, and it was so investigated, and so like I really moved even talking about it because it was one of my like most favorite creative memories was us finding that family together, like through night. Like we had an email chain going of like just thoughts and dreams. Like just we wanted to just make it as, especially because you see mom and then you don't, she's kind of like in and out, but you knew that like anchor had to be as solid as possible. So we really worked hard, I feel like, on trying to make sure that thread, that anchor was not lost as what they were going through. It was an incredibly satisfying creative experience, and what the scale of it is always like my fave too, just to not feel that it's just risk. You know what I mean? It's not like art by committee, which is just like becomes like, ugh. It just felt like it was.
Everybody's working together and collaborating.
Yeah, and also our own. You felt autonomy. Like he just gave all of us like autonomy for like, this is who I am. This is Loretta Jameson. Like it was really, little details. Like we came up with stuff that was in the set, like that we just kind of talked about, like in the rehearsal room, that like was little teeny details, like things that I had written as a kid into my childhood bedroom, or like stuff like crazy textured and like the stuff that you dream of as an actor,
Now, was this something that you were kind of dying to do as a director, being able to have the freedom to put little details like this that actors were coming up with, sort of giving everybody a chance to be part of the creative process as a whole, rather than just sort of coming in and hitting the lines?
I've always felt a little bit like farther away from Hollywood. I'm literally, I live in Philadelphia, so I'm pretty far away from Hollywood.
Okay, so you shot this near your home,
and
right?
I shoot all my movies in Philly, but I think what I wanted the process to be was freeing creatively for us, and my dream is approaching genre psychological thrillers as if they're A-dramas. So we treated it, with incredible respect, because normally in genre it's attached to things like not the greatest performances, derivative kind of things that happen, those kind of things, and I don't think you need to do that. Some of the greatest filmmakers of all time approached genre movies and made my favorite movies of all time, like Psycho, Hitchcock with Psycho, and Spielberg with Jaws, and Ridley Scott with Alien. It goes on and on. Robert Wise, The Haunting, and these are all the posters in my house, by the way. I'm literally like just listing every poster in my house. And that's when they approached it with incredible integrity, with world-class actors, and so really, really pushed them. These kids, what was the average take we did was 21 takes?
Yeah, I would say 30. Yeah.
30, yeah.
Sometimes
I think the record was 34.
30?
Yeah, I mean, that would be, and it's not like casual takes, like, let's do it again. It's, no, on this line you need to do this. Why did she do that? Why are you coming from this? You keep repeating this. This habit keeps coming out. Would you stop dropping the end of your day? Like 17, and you're just staring like that. And then we go, all right, here we go. Next, let's go. And action. And we do it again. Take 27. Okay, here's what, like that.
I think I'm seeing her go into a shock right now. Just like
It's just,
She just went
yeah,
post-traumatic
reliving
stress.
those memories.
And like that was how we did it. And that's, I mean, they're amazing actors. You just have to, you know, push, and you get something really, really special. I don't do a lot of coverage, which is when you're watching, you know, a lot of movies or TV shows, coverage is like medium shot, close up, wide shot, two shot, like that. And they cut them all together to cover all the mistakes, let's say.
Yeah, it's a fabricated sense of reality that, that coverage gives, whereas lack of coverage, for the most part, it shows off the performances, it shows off the writing a lot more. There's a more belief in it, I think.
Yeah, there's more of a, it sticks to you a little bit more, the longer the take that you can hold in there. Now, your eye and your mind gets very tired very quickly, gets bored very quickly, so as you hold a frame, that takes a lot to hold your frame for more than, and you can tell as time goes on now, our attention span is shrinking, so it's really hard to do this, but I don't do a lot of coverage. The coverage for me is take 27, is take 28. Do it with anger, do it with this, do it with this. Come at her character or his character like that, and don't, you know, throw away the most important line in the movie, which she has one of the most important lines in the movie, and I was like, don't even go near it. Just, you know, all of that, finding that, and that one we did like 25, I think, you know.
Is that a note that you is that a note that you ever got early on in your career, like more coverage? Did you ever get that as an executive note or anything?
You know,
that seems like something you may have to fight for as a filmmaker.
Did you have more coverage in your bigger film? Did you use more coverage?
It's not coverage, but the process is different. You know, it's almost like the bigger the movie, the less pliable the process is. Okay, and by that I mean, so because we have a small movie, we would shoot the movie, and if we didn't get it, you know, basically it's like I only feel two things: pain and lack of pain. That's all I feel. No pleasure. So it's pain, something's wrong, and then when we get it right, lack of pain. That's it. So I'm like.
So when an actor is like, was that good? Did I do good? You're like, I'm not in pain.
I feel lack
of
pain. Let's move on. And so,
cool,
like,
thanks, Knight. I guess I'm good.
We'd end the day, and I know we didn't get a particular scene, and I'm feeling the pain again, and I'm like, what do we do? I'll go to the editing room, and then I'll call them up or whatever that night, and I'll go, we're going to do it again. We're going to shoot a little faster tomorrow, and we're going to get done 45 minutes early, and we're going to go down into the kitchen, and we're going to redo that scene. That's what we're going to do, or we do it at the end of the week. So we kept on, like a play almost, like, redoing and doing stuff. And then even to the point that I said, the movie was shot in 30 days. I said, we're going to shoot it in 27 days, and everyone's coming back in 3 weeks, and we're going to do the last 3 days. I don't know what we're going to shoot, but I'm going to cut the movie and look at what we need. Again, trying to be pliable. So the art of filmmaking is listening to the story, right? Listening to what it wants to be, not what I wanted it to be. I did want it to be something, but sometimes it doesn't want that. You know, it wants to be a variation on that, and so you have to listen. And so those 3 weeks we edited, and every cast member, every crew member came back, and we shot the last 3 days of the shoot. And with my knowledge after cutting the movie and knowing, no, she needs to be more angry here. I need you to come back at the end and do this. I need him to do this. You need to raise that. And I'd call all of them and talk them through everything. I think I even showed you some takes of stuff to say, we're stuck here. We need to move from here to here. And that pliability it felt like I was cheating, because you were like, oh, you got a grade, and then I just increased the grade. I was like, I fixed all the answers. It felt like, and in Hollywood movies, because it costs so much money to do it, that's not how it's done. It's just, that's it. That's it. You shoot it, and that's it. You go edit it for a long time, and then you do previews, and then you do everything, and then they do the committee, and then they go, this is how much it costs if you want to do this, and you jam it and you twist it like this until it's like some version of straight, and then they go, okay, you can do one, this look, go shoot this. And that's not the most pliable version, because it costs so much to do that.
And is that a little bit of what you were talking about, that sort of letting the movie breathe or become what it wants to be, and that's what it felt like as an actress?
Yeah, like
as
letting
well?
yourself, letting each other and letting it to be surprised, like not like letting it take you somewhere that you didn't anticipate. Like I think it's always more satisfying than like come in the morning, rehearse it once, put marks on the floor, and then you kind of are on those marks till lunch. Do you know what I mean? And that's a way, and obviously good stuff happens that way. But this, I just feel like for the you know, the integrity of it. I just love this way of working. I do. Like, it was just so dreamy.
Yeah, as well. And I mean, the way that it was filmed sort of allowed us to play around with that because most of the shots are, like you mentioned before, just like one shot. There's not a lot of coverage, and that sort of gave us the opportunity to play around and do so many takes, knowing that it's just the one shot.
And was that new for you?
Yeah, no, I found it really fantastic and really fascinating, and it was really great because, you know, out of maybe 25 of those 27 days were in the same location, which, as Knight was saying before, it was cool if he went, okay, we didn't quite get that scene, move on, come back to it after lunch. So it was great to kind of have that freedom and know that if you didn't quite get it, you could come back to it, which was an interesting kind of process in making a film. And it really helped, as Olivia said, that a lot of them were long takes and all one take, and it really helped with the realness of the film. It really helped because and a lot of the time, because the camera, it's shot like a mock documentary, the camera has to move a lot or pan up and down, so there really wasn't any room to have props or people behind the camera. So usually Knight was in a completely different room, really far away. So it really felt like we were real and in the real location, because for the majority of it, it was just me and Olivia and Peter, the cameraman, which really helped. Yeah.
And it was mostly a real location, right? It was
It was completely
Like a real haunted house, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, stuff went down in there. For sure of it.
That must alleviate some of the tension, I guess, when you're shooting a movie too, sort of being like, we can come back to this later, rather than you sitting there as an actor being like, oh my God, the director's not getting what he wants. We're losing light right now, or we're losing time. How am I going to be able to get my performance where it needs to be? It must be freeing for your actors to be like, okay, maybe we'll be able to just come back to this a little later.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we didn't have any playback either, did we?
That's what I was
we
literally just gonna say.
There was like no playback, which means if Knight wasn't feeling it, like he wasn't going to watch it back to make sure. It was like in the moment. If you've got the emotion and you're in that moment, in the spot, in the sweet spot, I think was the words that you always used, then that was the take, which I guess sort of made it even better because you were either feeling it or you're not.
What they're referring to is when you're recording film, almost every single film that's ever shot, it's piped into a monitor and it's recording. So I could do 3 takes with Ed, then I'll be like, hold on, Ed. And then I go back and I watch the monitor, and the crew usually gathers around and they're like, oh, Ed did a great job in that take. I wonder if we could do this. And then we're all like whispering like we're on some trial. And okay. And then I come back, hey, Ed, great, but let's try this and this and this. And we do that. And I've dreamed about not doing that on a movie and never had the courage to do that, pull the playback and just don't have it, you know, treat it like theater, treat it like never leave them, stay right there, just rely on your intuition. You don't want the analytic side of your brain to take over too much and start telling you. That's the editor side, the side that keeps you safe, the craft side. Throw that all out. We want inspiration, we want just gut. Why did you fall in love with that person? I don't know. You know, you can't think it through, you know? She's this smart, she's this. It's like, that's a crazy way to think. You have to stay intuitive, and there's a connection that happens. The more you stay on that going, there's something not right. I don't even have to say it. These guys would know it in my eyes, and I'd be like, no, we need to go this. As opposed to going, I'm gonna stop my creative side, I'm gonna go to my analytic side, I'll be right back, and I'll just make sure we're safe, and come back again. And take that out times, you know, 300, 400, 500 shots, you take that process out, and it becomes this pure kind of, you know, even. And I think when you see the movie, you see the 5 performances in there, and they're just so elevated and so, you know, humming at the same level, like really rich and colorful, but really grounded performances, all 5 of them. And they couldn't be 5 different actors that existed, and yet they have like this rhythm between them. And I think it's because of this kind of intimacy, getting to that theater experience. So that's one of the things. Also, there's no score in the movie, which is really, really unusual, as you can imagine, for a movie. People don't even realize it because they come out and they're like, oh, wow, that was so scary, the scary music that came in. I'm like, there was no scary music.
This was a way for you to, in many ways, make a great film and also break a lot of the rules that had been kind of holding you back a little bit before?
I mean, the only one holding me back is me making those safer choices. I mean, I dreamed that if I was an NBA basketball player, I always say this, that I would have in my contract that I was allowed to play at Rutgers Park and play with no referees, and they'll elbow you and you could get hurt and that. But I would be allowed to do that because that's for the love of the game. And in that way, I was like, I don't have a distributor, we don't have anybody, we don't really have much money, we don't have anything. And can you make a great story with just with those things, you know, just with your ideas and great performance and great process?
Talk about casting our elderly couple in this, who I think has one of my favorite lines in any trailer this year, which is, could you get into the oven and clean it for me? Like, we talk about the movie being funny, and I don't know if that line's supposed to be funny, but it gets me every time.
Oh, definitely.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's that dark humor that you don't know what you're supposed to do, like, is the whole movie. The whole movie is you're like, this is so crazy. Am I supposed to laugh? Am I supposed to scream? I hired theater trained actors. That's generally my MO because of the long takes. So theater trained actors, you know, have a certain craft that and an ability to just commit and go, and not too analytical. That part of you is gone. I'm on stage. I'm gonna do 2 hours. I went that way. Tonight it felt angry. This way it felt softer. I felt more vulnerable on this particular evening. And that craft is very valuable with the way I like to shoot. So Deanna and Peter played Nana and Pop-Up, and Deanna had just won the Tony on Broadway for the lead in August Osage County. She's fierce actress.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, to play a great dark character, you need to bring value to it, value systems that she believes in. You can't, you know, I know it sounds crazy. If she's crawling on the ground towards Ed's character, she needs to why, how, justify it all in her head. And I know it sounds crazy, but that's what great actors do. They don't say, oh, I'm doing something crazy. That's not how they approach it at all. Why is she doing that? She has a complete justification. And whether you get it or not, you're feeling it in her authenticity that she is a very complicated character.
Absolutely. I think it's time for audience Q&A. Do we have some questions out here? Many questions.
The producer is a guy that's worked within the genre of a graphic horror, R-rated. Most of your films, am I wrong, have been PG-13. This is a PG-13. Now, you're putting your money up for this. Do you have edgy moments when you think, well, maybe I'll make more money if I try this. Maybe we can put it out there and see what people think. Has that ever been an artistic consideration, your rating?
Just clarify your question. You're saying, has there been the consideration to do edgier things for this particular movie?
Yes.
You know, it's as edgy as you can get for that PG-13 rating. It's right there. I felt like because the protagonists are this age, to kick it up to the point where their age couldn't come to the movie without their parents seemed like this is, you know, it's hard to do that. So I pushed it right to the edge of, and I'm sure some people will see and be like, how did it get that rating? That's crazy. But it is something that I thought about, making sure that we hit a particular tone. It's very edgy, and in fact, the pairing with Jason was to alert the audience that, you know, it's a little dangerous. That was what the feeling was.
And he came on after the film was completed, right?
Yeah. I went and shot the movie, then I showed it to Jason, and he flipped out for it. And you know, Jason has done lots of other stuff as well, like Whiplash, and you know, many wonderful dramatic films. So he has great taste.
Absolutely. Next question.
Hi, thank you for being here. In your movies, there seems to be a spiritual aspect of the breakdown of the family and how the family comes together going through this sort of other entity. And I think a perfect example would be like The Exorcist or Poltergeist. And I'm just curious what your writing process is like from the initial conception. Is it always starting with the family and then working your way through?
Yeah, great question. All my stories about family because I grew up in a very strong nuclear family. Then I got married very young, and I have a very strong nuclear family now. So if I was a bachelor for 40 years, it probably signs would have been like the main character was on a bad date, and then you know, and then the aliens came, and then he'd be like, I can't believe I'm with this chick, and you know, it would be different things I'd have been working through. But it's always about family and fears of family getting fragmented. And I find that very, very moving. I feel like I can tell an unlimited amount of stories, and certainly this was that case. This was inspired by friends of ours, and the dad left the children, and it really, I saw the kids grow up, and it just kind of broke my heart, you know. And so I kind of wrote their characters from that feeling. For me, when I'm writing properly, I don't think the way you were insinuating, you know, which is protective. you know, which is the way in Hollywood you think you should be, protective. Oh, if I did this movie, I'll be safe. If I just do this, it'll be better for audiences, that kind of thing. But you try to do inside out. Now, Hollywood is almost entirely genetically engineered to be outside in, right? Let's make a sequel. We're dating it. That's already outside. You don't have a story, nothing, you know? Outside and, okay, now what can our characters do? What can happen? And you start moving it in, you know, back and forth. Or you're saying, I'm making an action movie. We have XYZ star. And okay, now what's the character he could play? Or, you know, that kind of thing. Now you're going outside in again. For me, it's kind of like, you know, I see a sketch of an old lady staring at a wall in a rocking chair. Who is she? Why is she staring at the wall? And the movie starts to emerge, you know, like that. A girl's trying to make a story about a movie. She's an aspiring filmmaker, wants to make a movie to bring her family together. That's really emotional. What's her deal? Why is she doing this? You know, what is his foil to that? You know what I mean? You know, it's character. Best for me is plot comes out of character is the best way plot can happen. So, for example, one that you've already seen. So, like, you know, in Sixth Sense, it's like he's working with the boy. Oh, I wonder, what's this guy's marriage like? Well, he's not. He goes home, he doesn't speak to his wife. He just has a difficult time communicating with his wife. Why doesn't he talk to his wife? I can see this character. He goes home after talking to children all the time, and he goes home and he can't talk to his wife. Why can't he talk to his wife? Why can't he talk to his wife? Oh my God. You know?
What happens?
And so plot comes out of character, right? Organic, you know, very organic coming out, you know. You don't have to genetically change the piece to make it that plot thing work. It came right out of character, you know?
Do you think you were unfairly characterized after the ending of The Sixth Sense and what happens, that people expected something like that from your films?
No, I was pretty naive. I didn't realize that was going on. I just kind of made another movie. Like when I made Unbreakable, and then they were all like, "That's not scary." I was like, "Huh, right? That wasn't a scary movie. Why did you think that was a scary movie?" And I was so confused. And then I guess if you think about it, those two have kind of wild endings. And then Signs really didn't have one, but I think they saw it in it, you know. But you know, people, you know. And again, for me, I don't have that experience because, like, I wrote Stuart Little the same year I wrote Sixth Sense. So for me, I'm the family film guy too. I don't know.
Right, you're just telling stories.
Just telling stories. But then you have to become cognizant of what's happening because context has so much effect on art. It's so much, you know. If Emily Bronte writes Wuthering Height at a different time, she might have been received well, but she didn't write. She wrote it at a romantic time, so her sister wrote the iconic book, and then it's context. It's always in all artists that we love and admire. Context either crushes them or, you know, very rarely shows them in the right light because they're doing something that they're hearing, you know. And for us, you know, making a hyper original movie that doesn't look like anything else, doesn't sound like any other movie, it's aiming at a kind of a creative North Star that doesn't exist. Context is so important, right? And you know, because everything's pre-branded now in filmmaking, and that's context. It's like it gives you comfort, you know. And so we made a big decision, Universal and I, to screen the movie as much as we could before we opened. Let the movie be its own context, because I felt like it was too unusual a movie to just risk it just opening on Friday, you know. And so we've been screening it like crazy. All over we started at Comic-Con in July, and we just kept screening it all over the country. In fact, it's been screening all over the world, and luckily for us, the response has been really great. That could have backfired really badly. I mean, that sucks.
That's kind of what happened with Sixth Sense, right? I mean, Sixth Sense opened pretty big, but it was the kind of movie where it was people talking about it that really started elevating it. It really started growing in success after a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, the sense of discovery of movies is lost now because so much you get stuffed down your throat how a movie, what it is, and you know, that kind of that sense of discovery, which used to be the only way filmmaking was successful. You only recommended 5 easy pieces. There was no other way that it would stay in the theater all year long. You
Best
know,
movie.
Yeah, right. That's not a marketable movie right now. When a movie's made, right?
Be on VOD. Like 5 easy pieces would be on VOD.
It wouldn't be made in film. It could not be made. It would be made maybe as a short piece on TV now. But now we're getting really deep. But you know, movies
you guys
used
want to talk 5 easy pieces in VOD? What's up?
Well, like 5 easy pieces back in that day, they would go. the most important thing about filmmaking was its resonance, how sticky the movie was, the experience, how it stayed with you. Because then I would say, hey, Catherine, I just saw Five Easy Pieces. Jack Nicholson was incredible. You got to go see it. And 2 weeks later, she would see it and recommend it to 5 people, blah, 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 like that. Resonance was everything. And then they would take little ads out in the New York Times and the LA Times, and that's how they promoted it. So marketability was like a sliver. Jack Nicholson was in it, marketability, but it was a sliver. Resonance was everything, right? Let's call it like even be like that and that, right? But now, as you can tell, marketability is almost the sole factor on how they decide a movie. And resonance is this, hey, if it happens, great, you know? As long as it's incredibly marketable, because really the cost of selling a movie is so expensive now. So they look, is it branded? Is it pre-branded? Does it have stars? Is it easy to swallow? Do we know how to target the audience? All of those things. The marketability of it is gigantic. And then the resonance, you know. And for us, I think, you know, trying to overcome that in the industry, making a hyper-original movie, we wanted to screen it so it had its own context, use social media to its great extent. I mean, it was so exciting to get this. I don't know if you guys got this email. I got this email saying that last week the most talked about movie in the country on social media, on everything, Facebook, you know, Instagram, everything, Twitter, was our movie. Like doubled every movie. And so, thank you so much. And so, yeah, trying to fight for original movies, you know, and have the audience kind of bring it, you know, that they're the ones that are the ones doing the old Five Easy Pieces thing. Hey, you should see it.
Mm-hmm. I think we have time for one more question. Who's got the mic? Someone. She's got a mic right. Ooh.
Sorry,
Hi.
Hi, I'm a huge fan of the actual horror genre in general, and I noticed when we were talking about the film, you were very adamant in calling it a psychological thriller and not a horror, but I feel like some of the classic greats like Jaws, Alien, Psycho were kind of both horror and psychological thriller,
Yes.
and I was wondering, in your opinion, when that rift kind of started happening between horror and psychological thriller, and if films like these could be steps towards marrying those genres back together and actually putting some credibility back into horror, I guess.
I love these questions. You guys this is so great. I mean, this is such deep questions. Listen, horror is usually the entryway kind of filmmaking for first-time filmmakers or for less experienced filmmakers because it's very strong flavors and it has tropes in it that you can hang on to. If you just do this scare, you know, like that, which I hate. I just want to kill the characters when they do that. You know, oh, sorry, did I scare you?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, sorry. I guess it works.
He's a master. Look at that.
The master of scares. And so it has the patina of some things about it that come with the territory. I don't like those kind of movies. What you're saying is you don't like gratuitous things, you don't like poor craftsmanship, poor performance, lack of meaning, lack of depth, all of those things that are typically with the horror genre because it's an entry level kind of, it's very spicy. It's a very strong flavor as a chef. You can pretend you're a chef just by taking sriracha sauce and pouring it all over something. I'm a chef, you know, it's very flavorful, and that's what that is. But done with great discipline, like the movies you're talking about. I mean, it's an extraordinary metaphor for spirituality, for family, for faith, things that we could talk. I mean, we would talk basically, your character believes in fairy tales, and her life didn't work out that way. And that's what the movie's about. Are fairy tales real? And it's a super dark take on that conversation, but we can talk about faith because we're in that genre. So I am always kind of like reticent to say, oh, it's just a horror thing, because I know it comes with stigma. Not that I'm running away from it. I love that genre, as you can tell. But again, my hope is that it's a broad movie for you know, like my sister wouldn't necessarily go to a horror movie, but she would, not because she's my sister, but she would like this movie.
Night, before I let you go, what day can people start seeing the movie?
I mean, everybody can see it on Friday, right? Yeah. All right.
Go see the film. Go see The Visit. Thank you so much for being here, you guys.
Thank you.